Wake up! You know what that is. Remnants from last night's overindulgence.
Yep, you did it again. Friday night, too much drinking, too much carousing. You still didn't get the girl.
Or the guy, if you're a girl.
Yep, so it's Saturday morning. And of course, that means that your Uncle Kevin, your Uncle Dave are here to get you through your Saturday morning hangover with the best in pop culture, music, movies, TV and streaming, and of course, at the end, the Red Foreman Dumbasses of the Week.
Brought to you in the politically incorrect way only we can do.
That is absolutely correct. So you know what the routine is. Chow down on some aspirin, fry up some eggs, fry up some bacon, get the sausage going, get the coffee going, and settle in for an hour and a half of fun talk about anything and everything that makes life worth living. Outside, of course, all the stuff you missed out on last night because she didn't want to have sex with you. And we've all been there. We've all done that. So we are actually, in a roundabout way, being empathetic to you.
Now we're apathetic.
All right, huge concert review. We're taping, of course, here on June the 12th, which this will drop on June the 15th. But last night,
on the 11th of June, 2024, opening night up in Grand Rapids for John Waite, opening for Foreigner and Styx.
And pretty much went off without a hitch. Very beginning for John Waite, they had problems getting the spotlight on him for about a minute.
Yeah.
But after that,
flawless.
You could not have told anybody that it was a rough opening night. It was seamless. Of course, these rock and roll veterans know what they're doing.
Yeah, it was good.
So no glitches in the sound, no glitches in the lighting, again, outside of that first initial minute with John Waite, the opener. But I have a feeling as we go through this, Dave and I are going to have some different opinions about some things. And then we want to bring in, it's hearsay, it's secondhand, but we want to bring in, of course, Mrs. C's observations as well, which I will agree with to a point and disagree with to a point.
Yes.
So, and I also want to bring in her opinions when it comes to our album review. Bon Jovi's Forever, because she dropped a little nugget about that, which I want to discuss. Not necessarily her opinion.
No, but what she got from a friend of hers.
Yes. So we start off with the concert. First up, about 10 minutes late getting on stage, but okay. They tightened it up after that, and everything was fine.
Everything moved along. The road crews made up for it.
Yep, because they ended right at 11 o'clock, which I believe is curfew up there in Grand Rapids on a weeknight. So we start off with John Waite. And, of course, if for some reason you don't know who John Waite is, he has had a three-pronged successful career in that solo hits with Bad English, and
hits with the Babies.
His first big band, the Babies. And so the 8 songs he played, 4 of them were from his days with the Babies, which I loved. I thought that was a great choice.
Very good stuff.
And then he for a set list based on his career, he pretty much hit it out of the park, in my opinion, in terms of the set list.
The set list was the songs that he needed to play in that short little half-hour run that he had.
No, he got 40 minutes.
Or 40 minutes.
He got 40 minutes, yeah.
But in that little bit, it's what you wanted to hear.
Yeah, but then he threw a little curveball in at the end with a Led Zeppelin cover, which I was not expecting. Didn't do a bad job with it.
No, that was pretty good.
You didn't seem to enjoy it that much,
though. My thing is, the tempo of the songs was slow to me.
It was dialed down. He admitted on one of the songs, I think Every Time I Think of You, he admitted the actual studio version features a bunch of background singers and orchestral touches. And he said, we're on a budget here. We can't do all of that.
But that's fine. But still, it's just overall the tempo of most of the songs was slower than what I would have liked to have heard. That was my only issue.
Yep. I can see it, and you also made a comment while we were watching him that, you, and I kind of like this, that he was coming off at times a little bit like a lounge lizard.
Yeah, it kind of had that vibe. It was like the Lounge Lizard version of his songs, where they're not quite what he you would expect from him. That it was an off person doing covers of his songs.
No, I thought his voice sounded pretty good though.
Well, his voice sounded really good. It
Yeah.
was just like I said. The issue I had was with the tempo.
All right, so we move on. We'll review this whole show once we get to the end.
Yeah, but no, I was very happy with the set list and the way he sounded.
And then we move on to Foreigner. Now, Foreigner got about an hour and 15 minutes, 11 songs, and they basically hit everything you would expect them to hit in terms of what they played.
Yeah,
And
there was no surprises.
yeah, and this is the third time I've seen Foreigner in a fairly short period of time, so
We kind of knew what to expect, and they didn't disappoint. They're solid.
yes. And we've in the past raved about Kelly Hansen as a front man, and people complain and bitch and piss and moan, this isn't Foreigner, there's no original members left. They do a fine job, and as long as Mick Jones signs off on this version of Foreigner,
Then it's fine.
yep,
And some of these guys have been around for over 20 years
yep,
as part of the band.
yeah, definitely Kelly Hansen, and of course the great Jeff Pilson on bass, formerly of Dokken.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've been around for a long time. Just it's the thing is that drives some people crazy is that this version of Foreigner hasn't even really put out a lot of new music.
No, they haven't.
They're basically a touring band playing the big hits, and that's it. And that does drive a lot of people nuts. It doesn't bother me all that much
No, not really.
as long as they put on a good show.
And they do.
Yep.
They are solid.
So, like I said, 11 songs. You guys know what they were playing. I always, anytime I've seen them live, I always gravitate to "Dirty White Boy."
Yeah. It's just that rockin'
And
nasty
I think the
song
last
that
time we saw them, you mentioned you don't understand how that song hasn't been canceled yet.
I love it.
Oh
But
yeah,
still, it's one of those where you would have thought somebody would have railed against it by now.
yeah. You've got an entire stadium sold out, by the way, packed to the rafters at Van Andel Arena.
Singing along
Yeah,
and
singing along
love
with "Dirty White Boy."
it, singing along with everything.
Yep. Yeah, and that's another part where I want to bring in Mrs. C's observation. Um, so let's move on to Styx. Styx, the co-headliner, maybe played maybe 5 minutes longer than Foreigner. Again, we mentioned they wrapped it up right at 11 on
Yep.
the dot, a well-oiled machine. So we got 13 songs from Styx. Maybe one ballsy move that I loved, that you and I both loved, was they did not play Babe.
That was frickin' brilliant. This was a flat out this was another flat out rockin' compilation, and they left out the weak link.
Yep. Now they did play a quote unquote new song. It's been out for a little while.
Yeah, Crash of the Crown.
Yeah, the title track from their last studio album. I'll take that any day over Babe.
Yeah, amen to
Let's
that.
put it that way. But we all know how concert audiences receive new music in this day and age.
They don't always accept it well.
Yep. I didn't mind it. It was fine. This is where I want to bring in observations. Now, you and I have already discussed how we kind of dispute a little bit the John Waite set. I think I liked it more than you. But I think your criticisms are valid for the most part. Now, Mrs. C, your wife,
Yep.
brought up And I think a very valid point. She brought up that it seemed like the audience was actually, despite the fact we were in Styx's stomping grounds in Michigan,
Yeah.
because Tommy Shaw resided in Michigan for a long, long time throughout a big chunk of his life. Foreigner seemed to get the crowd a little bit more energized than Styx did.
Yeah, people seemed more engaged and did more of the singing of the songs with Foreigner. So I can see her point on that, thinking that Foreigner brought it a little bit more than Styx.
Yeah, and the problem is with perspective. Here's where we're going to get into perspective: is that you guys had never seen Styx before.
Right.
Now, for her to say that, very honest, she's you guys and we've all gone to see Foreigner together
Yeah.
multiple times.
It's
So
what I expected from Foreigner. I didn't know what to expect from Styx.
right,
I wanted to enjoy that, and I did. I thought Styx was frickin' fantastic.
yeah,
I enjoyed Styx more than Foreigner because I've seen Foreigner too often. We just saw him last summer, for crying out loud.
that's my point. Is that I agree with her assessment that taking the whole crowd in and how they reacted, yes, they seem to like Foreigner a little bit more. But for me, and it sounds like for you,
Yeah, I like the Styx set. It was fresh for me, not having seen him before,
right?
and
And
I
it'd been a while since I've seen him, so I was a lot more looking forward to Styx because I'd
yeah.
seen him in the past. I know they put on a phenomenal show.
The reason I wanted to go to this show was to see Styx.
Yep. So in that sense, at least for me, and again for you, sounds
Yeah.
like Styx was the highlight of the night as we
Yes.
expected.
Yes, it was. And the cherry on top was no Babe.
Yeah, because when they came out for the encore after Mr. Roboto, I was expecting Babe and then Renegade.
But they went right from Mr. Roboto
And I
into
said, well, there's no
Renegade.
way. I was thinking, there's no way in hell they're going to close the show out with a ballad. Nobody does
No.
that. So I'm thinking,
Holy
dare I hope and dream?
Yes, yes, we dare hope and dream.
So,
But
again, valid observation. Last time I'll say it,
yep.
that Foreigner maybe, for somebody who was seeing them, this is what I said after the show to you guys.
Yeah.
I said, if I came in never seeing Foreigner or Styx before, maybe I would have a different perspective. But I was there for Styx. Styx to me is a little bit more of a favorite band to me, even though I grew up with both of them, and I
Yeah.
I have a very special place in my heart for both of those bands because I remember some of my first records. I had the Foreigners album. I think that was the first album I ever owned outside of a K-Tel album.
No.
And then I remember I had the 45 for Come Sail Away.
There you go.
So I again, very special bands in my musical
Yeah.
adolescence.
And I think the other part of Mrs. C's evaluation was Crash of the Crown seemed to kind of be that lull for the crowd with Styx.
Yeah. Because nobody outside of I knew it, but how many people in that audience?
I had heard it, but I didn't know the lyrics enough to
Right.
sing along and get fully engaged.
Yep.
But
Best song of the night by far, Come Sail Away.
oh my god,
They did an
that was
unbelievable
fan
rendition.
freaking tastic.
Yep. Now that was the one where I think the entire night, that song
That was
throughout
the
any
song of the night.
throughout any of the three acts, that was the best song.
Yes, and I loved them opening with Grand Illusion.
But yeah,
You have to.
yeah, love, love, love the Grand Illusion. Just love it. So I was very happy overall with the whole night.
Yes, it was a freaking solid show.
Yep. I would dare I say I go 3.5 frenzies.
I'm with you at 3.5.
Yep.
It was just
You've got
a great, great show. Great set list from all three. Yeah, I can't argue with
Yeah,
it.
we got almost 3 hours and 15 minutes total of music. So, and we love Van Andel Arena. It's a great place
Once
to see a
again,
concert.
no issues with the sound.
No,
That place is, for whatever reason, the sound guys seem to love it.
and there's really not a bad seat in the
No, there's
place
not. It is a fantastic venue.
because you only got an upper ring and a lower bowl. You don't have triple like a bigger venue like Gainbridge Fieldhouse in Indianapolis, where if you're in that third tier,
You're screwed.
yeah, you are far away. So we got about another month to go before our next show, which would be Party Gras 2.0.
Yep.
So that'll be coming in mid
That'll be
July.
fun.
Yep, that'll be coming in mid July. And then after that, I think another couple weeks of a break, and then it's
It
almost every
ramps
week.
up.
Then it's almost every week from late July through early October.
Yeah, we got a lot coming down the line, so you kids are going to have to deal with it.
No, it's good. We'll have content.
I
We'll
know.
if there's those occasional weeks where we don't have an album, at least we'll have a concert. But this week, kids, you get both.
That's right. Aren't you lucky? So we tell you, if you get a chance, go see this tour.
Yep, just started out as we mentioned, so plenty of chances out there to I'm sure to if you got to buy them on the secondary market maybe.
Yep, and
But
this is supposed to be Foreigner's farewell
yep. Well, they're selling shirts.
that say farewell.
Yeah, so
We'll see.
otherwise there's some really false advertising going on there.
Exactly.
All right, our album review for the week. We are biased. We are bitter. We admit it. So we tried our best to come in with an open mind to review the new album from Bon Jovi, Forever.
We went in with open minds, but not open arms.
Yep. And part of the album made me want to close my ears. So.
There were moments of that.
Now let's bring in the other thing I wanted to discuss.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, Mrs. C, we talked about this album while we were eating dinner before the show.
Yeah, we mentioned we were going to review it, and she goes, "Oh yeah, my friend absolutely loved it. She said it was one of his best albums." I'm like, "Yeah, we're gonna stop you there."
Yeah. Now I will say something. Of course, we're politically incorrect, so we don't care who we piss off. This album, now, guys, chicks, everybody loved Bon Jovi back in the 80s.
Yeah.
Because they put out, they had the cheesy ballads, but they had the hard rock and stuff. And we all know about the well-documented vocal issues with John Bon Jovi. Beyond the fact that he pushed Richie Sambora out of the band because of his ego, not Richie's, but John's. I don't care how many members he puts in this band. I think they're up to 7 now.
Yeah. You're not.
This is all about John Bon Jovi.
This is an ego trip still.
Yes. And despite the fact that he's had vocal cord surgery and they won't be touring behind this because he just can't do it night in and night out. But the problem is he hasn't been able to really, honestly, fairly sing night in and night out in years and years, if not decades.
Yeah.
And of course, we got screwed. This is why I'm saying we came in with an open mind, because we're bitter, because in 2022,
he stole our money.
We saw him in Indianapolis. And if you've seen the Bon Jovi documentary on Hulu, he admits it was a terrible night.
We want our money back.
I want my money back from Joe Biden for my college loan, and I want my money back from John Bon Jovi. Now, what I was going to say about Mrs. C's commentary and why I'm going to piss people off is because this album in particular, unlike the albums in the 80s where there was enough for everybody in there to go around, this is a chick's album. This is a soft, fluffy, for the most part, chick album. That's probably why
That's
her friend,
probably why her friend went gaga
because
on it.
I don't see a guy listening to this and saying, this is a really good album. This is one of his best. There's no way in hell you can
No.
compare this to New Jersey or Slippery When Wet. It's not, it's
There's
apples and
nothing-
oranges.
Yeah. And his voice is shot. And it comes through on this album. Some of these songs would have been so much better if somebody else would sing them.
Now, see, I think John Bon Jovi is not stupid. Okay, he manufactured this album with a purpose. There's forethought, there's planning that goes into this, and we'll get into more detail here in a minute on that. I think because of that, I think you're being a little harsh on his voice, because I think he specifically limits with these songs what he's expected to do.
What he can do.
That's again why we don't get any rockin' songs. We don't get any screaming and yelling. That's why I'm saying this is a chick album, because his vocals are so muted.
Yeah.
For the most part.
It's painful.
Now, it does suffer from an issue that we keep seeming to have over and over and over again with most albums we've been reviewing over the last year or two, is that it's maybe half an album at best. And most of the good stuff is in the first half.
It's in the early stages.
Now, I'll even go so far as to say there is a clear line for me. Once you get through track 5, Seeds, and you go into track 6, which one of the worst. So you said there's no open arms. You said there's no open arms, but you get Kiss the Bride.
You get Kiss the Bride, which is a blatant, lame attempt to try and manufacture the newest wedding song. And it's, like I said, it's a lame attempt.
But I'll say it again. Guaranteed.
It's going to be
the women are going to go, this is wonderful. This is so wonderful and heartfelt.
Yeah.
Oh, that John Bon Jovi.
And all the moms who listened to him in the 80s and 90s, who have their daughters getting married here coming up, are going to, oh, you have to consider this one for your first dance or whatever. Ugh.
Yep.
Ugh.
Yeah, that right there is my cutoff, because after that, once you get Kiss the Bride, I think the rest of the album is really, really not good.
You didn't like
I don't want to say terrible, really not good.
You didn't like the disco funk, The People's House?
Dude! I have so many notes on that song. First off, it is the first 30 seconds are a direct ripoff from his own goddamn song, Keep the Faith. It sounds like it's Keep the Faith.
I know.
And then the cheesy lyrics, and then I'm thinking, is this possibly going to be Joe Biden's campaign song? Because it is so cheesy about, it's all about all of us working together, and it's our house.
Yeah, it's just, yeah.
And the thing is, this is what drives me crazy about a lot of this album, is you've got blatant ripoffs of his own music, like Living Proof, which is actually a decent song, but he has to go back to the talk box.
Yeah.
Like on Living on a Prayer. And Legendary sounds exactly like what you would expect if you had a cookie cutter for Bon Jovi songs.
And we reviewed that already.
Right, we reviewed both of those, yeah. And then you pointed out when we reviewed Legendary something that carries through here in terms of references to old rock and roll. Now, Legendary, again, you pointed this out, Sweet Caroline, Brown Eyed Girl.
Mm-hmm.
If we jump all the way back to track 11, My First Guitar, he references Kiss.
Yep.
And then Seeds, I pulled out my old Beatles compilation. The end of Seeds is blatantly ripped off from the end of A Day in the Life by the Beatles.
Oh.
That orchestral,
yeah.
And then dawn at the end. That is a blatant ripoff of the end of A Day in the Life. So this is just one of many things. And then Legendary and Walls of Jericho, which Walls of Jericho is so cringe-inducing to me.
It's so poppy.
And the chorus is too long. It's obviously trying to be a live sing-along, even though they're not going to tour. But Pour Some Sugar on Me is a concert sing-along.
Walls of Jericho is
pour some. Walls of Jericho is like 40 words in the chorus.
It's like it's not going to happen.
And then the laziest songwriting in the world is when you stick in na 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 or oh. It's put some words in there.
Stop.
I can't stand that. So the only songs that I thought were good. Now the one that you will be shocked at that I actually liked, I thought it was a very cool, mellower song, was the second song. We Made It Look Easy.
That wasn't bad.
Now he's got female singers backing him up to kind of
that one was
make
decent.
up for his shortcomings.
I kind of liked at the end Hollow Man.
Hated Hollow Man. Look at that. That's what I put for Hollow Man. A bunch of Z's because it put me to sleep. Lyrically, it's not terrible, but it's just boring.
It is.
Musically, it is one of the dullest songs I've ever heard.
Musically, it sucked. Lyrically, I liked it lyrically. But music doesn't
not just
do it.
About the lyrics.
No, it's
otherwise
not.
I'll read a goddamn poem. And John Bon Jovi
and
goddamn
poet. And I wasn't all that wild about Waves or Seeds either.
See, I like those two because they were
okay.
I thought they were different. I thought they were kind of cool.
They were all right.
But yeah, Living in Paradise is generic. My First Guitar is borderline creepy. The first line, I cannot believe he gets away with this. And I know, yes, he's talking about a guitar, but still, got my hands around her neck.
Yeah.
This is the first line in the song. Show a little bit of smarts and sensitivity, will you? Yes, we get it's a metaphor for the guitar.
Got my hands around its neck, not hers. Yeah. Come on.
But of course, that's the whole point of the song, is comparing the guitar
to a woman. Fingering your guitar.
I wrote you a song was awful.
My God. Really? Are you trying to rip off Elton John now?
Yeah, kids, if you can't figure it out, not a big fan of the album.
No.
And I'm not actually in a pretty good mood, so I will give Forever a weak to Frenzies.
Yeah, that's what it deserves.
I think 1.5 is just a shade too harsh.
It's a weak
but it's
two.
A weak 2. I'm sorry.
Can't recommend it.
Unless, of course, you're a girl. Then you'll probably love it. And you'll think Kiss the Bride is the greatest song ever written.
My God, it's so generically bad.
Okay, one last thing about this Bon Jovi debacle. I think his band, going back to what we talked about at the beginning, where this is a John Bon Jovi solo project, basically.
Yeah, with his regular band backing him up. Nobody has the balls, as we were talking about, to challenge him.
Yeah. There are certain songs, again, I will go back to The People's House. You can't tell me Tico Torres or David Bryan, the two guys from the beginning, the original lineup, who are still in the band, couldn't go to him and say, John, this is a song we've done before. This is called Keep the Faith.
We've done it. Can we tweak it?
Yeah.
No.
Tweak it. Needs a massive overhaul is what it needs.
But no, you can't question the great Bon Jovi.
And that's the last thing I will say. Massively overblown.
Yep. All right.
Definitely legend, but sorry. They are not nearly as good over the last 20 years, 25 years as everybody seems to think they were.
Yeah. Nope. They have swirled down the toilet.
All right. One song this week. We did promise you Deep Purple.
Did not get to it. we'll push it back a week for you.
Yep, and we'll recap here in a second after our one song review what we're going to have for you next week. But an interesting song review that we do have for you.
Yep, David Lee Roth with Jenny Jenny, that telephone song.
Otherwise known as
8675309.
Yep. It's pretty faithful.
I was going to say, of the songs of his we've reviewed, this is the best we've gotten from him.
He doesn't, I cannot believe I'm saying this, comparing Tommy Two-Tone, saying they're more rocking than David Lee Roth. But he pares this down a little bit where you barely get any electric guitar in it. The guitar solo is replaced with a harmonica solo,
which I kind of dug.
Yeah. Now, vocally, I think he's trying to stay as faithful as possible to the original. So you're not going to get any tricks or yelps or anything like that. He pretty much plays it straight.
Which is a nice change of pace coming from him.
Yep. And you pick one of the greatest songs of the 80s, too.
Yeah. So, that doesn't hurt.
Yep. I will probably be a little harsh on this just because I expect more from him. I don't know why I should, considering
Think about where he is right now.
I'm still going to yell and scream like I do every time he puts a song out. Put out a freaking album!
You have enough now. Give us something,
God, you
dumbass.
got more than enough. I will give this a strong 2 frenzies.
I was going to go week 2.5.
Yeah, it just doesn't, I again like the musical changes, but it doesn't stray enough away from the original in a good way for me to really recommend it.
There you go.
It's fun for one listen.
Yeah.
Which is usually what a good cover song is.
Yeah, there's the rare cover that you want to listen to over and over. Unless the band makes it their own.
Which is rare. Hard to do.
Yes.
Hard to do with a cover song. Next week, our featured album review will be the new one from Mike Campbell and his band, the Dirty Knobs. Of course, Mike Campbell, formerly of the Heartbreakers. Then once Tom Petty passed,
struck out on his own.
Yep, and he sounds eerily just like his friend.
Yeah.
The late, great Tom Petty. So we will have that for you next week. I believe this is the 3rd album from Mike and the Dirty Knobs. And we reviewed the last one, External Combustion, a couple years ago. And then as far as songs, we carry over Deep Purple's Pictures of You for next week.
Yep.
And then 2 awesome announcements. The summer music season might be dying down, but the fall music season is starting to heat up with the announcement this week of 2 huge new album releases, both on the same day. They will both be out October the 11th. First up, The Offspring.
Their new song, Make It All Right.
And the album is Supercharged, out October the 11th. And then the great Miles Kennedy.
The hardest working man in rock and roll.
I knew the minute that Creed was going out on the road, I said, we're getting a solo album. Because Slash is still dicking around with Guns N' Roses. Of course, he just did his blues covers album. Yeah. So I'm like, that means we're getting a Miles Kennedy solo album.
And boom, here we go.
And that also out on October the 11th. That one is called The Art of Letting Go, a very bizarre album cover, by the way. But the first single is out as well. No, it's not the great Fastway song, but it is Say What You Will. I've indulged a couple times. Very impressed so far.
Yep, and I've heard Make It All Right, and yeah, it's The Offspring.
So we'll have those 3 songs, that album for you next week. Mike Campbell, Deep Purple, Miles Kennedy, and The Offspring. So now we move on to movies. Dave and I have one of those rare occasions, seems like it's rare now, where we actually watched the same movie.
Yep, this one, the stars aligned.
Brand new on Netflix, big hit movie. I don't know necessarily how.
Ish.
You know, I know they've kind of figured out the ratings now when it comes to streaming, but, you know, great reviews, great ratings for this one. This is Hitman, featuring the new up-and-coming star, Glenn Powell. Of course, he was in Top Gun Maverick.
Yep.
And he was in this rom-com with Sydney Sweeney and her magnificent boobs.
Yep, and this one seems like a pet project of his.
Yes.
Because he co-wrote it, co-directed, so
produced.
Yeah.
And I had really high hopes for this based on the promos I was seeing and how it looked like it had that Fletch kind of feel, where they were showing him with
in different
all these
costumes.
Yeah. Boy, that part was a letdown. Wow, was that a letdown?
Was.
They crammed it all into like 10 minutes. All the different disguises and the makeup and the effects and everything.
It needed to be doled out a little bit better.
Yeah. Because otherwise, to me, all this is a romance. I mean, I thought this was way too much of a romance movie.
Yeah,
not a lot of action, if any, really.
There really wasn't any action.
Yeah. It's got an interesting plot to a point, but it
had potential that wasn't met.
Yeah, there wasn't anything in the plot that was necessarily earth-shattering or new.
No.
It's well executed, no pun intended. And it's well done for what it is. And I will say this, Glenn Powell definitely is very good in this. You know?
Yeah, he does a good job portraying the mild-mannered college professor and then the personas as the hitman trying to arrest the people at the murder for hire schemes.
Yep. Not entrapment, though.
Nope. No, not entrapment.
Supposedly. Maybe. Uh-huh. And then the fact this was based on a real story was interesting as well.
Yeah, very loosely based.
Yep. And then, of course, the love interest is, I don't want to butcher her name, Adria Arjona. I think that's pretty close. And she's not bad to look at.
Nope, she did a nice job.
Yep. But it was disappointing to me.
It was.
The two main criticisms, again, we just pointed out, to me,
not enough action,
and you took the Fletch potential and you screwed it up.
Yeah. You put it all at once instead of meeting it out.
Yep. So I can only go two frenzies on this. I didn't see it as something I could recommend to anybody. This is
not really. It was
just like the Bon
right.
Jovi album. I can recommend it to a chick. She'll love it. Ooh, I get to see Glenn Powell. Ooh, and he's making love to women. And ooh, yeah. Go for it, babe. Go for it.
There you go.
I'll wait for the Fall Guy and I'll wait for Furiosa. So next week in movies, might have a double shot. I might have I might have a triple shot. Because the other night I started watching. You remember? It would have been a couple years ago. I reviewed a movie called X, which was set, I think, in the late 70s.
Oh yeah, the
porn,
the team trying to make a porn movie at a farmhouse type thing. Yeah.
Yes. Well, that turns out that is the first of 3 movies in a trilogy.
Really?
Yes. The third one is just coming out this summer. It's called Maxine. Of course, Maxine spelled with 3 X's.
Of course it is.
So Amazon Prime has the second one called Pearl.
Nice.
An extraordinary origin tale, I think is what they say. Of course,
with 2
emphasizing the X. So I got about halfway through it. It's okay. It's a little freaky, even freakier than the first one. So I might have that, and of course, then you and I are going to try again to do a couple.
Yep.
A line so we can both review the same
Monkey
movie.
Man will be the main choice.
Yes, if that's okay. I know you've
Yes.
got other considerations and other people who kind of push you in certain directions.
Well,
but-
I'm the one who brought up watching Under Paris,
right, and
the shark movie.
Yeah, we might give that a shot too.
Because it's a shark movie and kind of a horror movie, and we're suckers for those.
Yep. And I believe it kind of ties into the Olympics too.
With the triathlon.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, might have 3 movies for you in some way, shape, form, or permutation next week, kids. So, let's do some entertainment news before we get into TV and streaming. Dave, do you like beer?
Yeah. As I raise my can.
Yeah. He's not quite ready to crack one yet, so. Well, we've got a new beer launching this summer in 17 states.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Hulk Hogan's Real American Beer. Yes, Hulk Hogan is launching his own beer.
Is it going to be a red and yellow can?
The picture that I saw, his little figure is up at the top above the logo. Yep, in his red and yellow gear. Now, what would be funny is if this takes off and he wants to put out like a darker lager, he would do the NWO Hollywood Hogan version.
Wait, I got it. Thunder Lips IPA.
There you go. See, there's so much potential here. So much potential here.
NWO Stout. You've got your Real American Lager.
Yeah.
Again, we have to do everything.
Now, I did not see if our great state is included in the 17 where they've got distribution deals set. So we'll have to be on the lookout for that.
Yes. Yes, we will.
And then, of course, we've been slacking a little bit on books, but we've got a lot lined up.
I think we need to discuss where we are with Extinction from Douglas Preston. Normally, anything by Preston or Childs or the two of them together, solid reading. You want to keep going. You don't want to put it down. This is one, new characters, new story. The premise is great. Kind of a Jurassic Parky type thing. The characters aren't there to suck you in to keep going. I'm having a really hard time getting into this one.
Yeah, now this is another thing, just like the movies, where we were talking about how Dave and I try as best we can to align so we can give you both of our opinions at the same time on a movie.
Yeah.
So we're both reading this book right now. Dave's a little bit further ahead than me.
I should have had it done 2 weeks ago. And I just
You and your damn video games. No.
If it would have engaged me, I would be done with it.
Yeah, I've got to give it at least another 50 pages. I can't bail on it yet.
I'm at about 120 pages in, and I'm at the point where I'm going to bail for now and maybe come back to it down the line.
All right, I'm probably going to shoot to get there, and if I feel the same way, then I'll jump over, hopefully, to Cleat by the great James Lee Burke.
Yeah, I've got the new Longmire in the queue now.
I'll never get to that. I'm so far behind on
that. I should be able to knock out.
But a nonfiction book that might be very interesting to read next year, as the deal has just been finalized. Sylvester Stallone's memoir, The Steps, coming in 2025.
Very intriguing.
Yeah, and I don't normally like to read memoirs, but between this one, of course, Alex Van Halen later this year, and then we talked about Al Pacino, those could be interesting.
They could be.
All right. I know Dave likes to vote for himself for president every 4 years,
I'm the only one I trust.
and the rest of us struggle with Tweedledum or Tweedledummer, the choices that we get. But a new candidate has entered the ring, as I got an email yesterday from a troubled man for troubled times. Alice Cooper is running for president. Yes, the Wild Party. And there is actually a website, aliceforpresident.com.
This should gain traction. Because you got Tweedledum, Tweedledummer, and Wormbrain.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about Wormbrain. Yeah. Oh, my God.
Seriously, how does the media get to dictate all of this bullshit? Focusing on these idiots.
Yep. I know. And we've got some little bit of news coming up about some of those idiots later on at the end of the show, of course. All right, bad news, good news, bad news situation. Now, next week, we will start reviewing season 4 of The Boys on Amazon Prime.
Let the superhero carnage continue.
Well, that's the thing, Dave. It's only going to continue for so long, as they've announced that season 5 will be the end for The Boys.
That's probably a good thing because you can only go so far with this stuff. I was wondering if this might have been the final season.
No, because remember, we
That's
announced
right.
a couple weeks ago that they had renewed it for season 5.
Yeah, so they're just doing a...
Yep.
Yeah. It is. It's as good as it is. It cannot continue.
Yep. More bad news for us on the cancellation front. See, now that's not really... Somebody called it a cancellation on The Boys.
It's not a cancellation.
They're wrapping it. They would keep
this
it
is a
going.
planned wrap-up.
Yeah, they would keep it going. Amazon Prime would be more than happy to keep it going because it's one of their most popular shows. It's not a cancellation. They're saying we're going to wrap the storyline up and end it.
Yeah.
And then you got all the spin-offs.
Right. The spin-offs are going to carry through, but the main storyline, there has to be a resolution.
Yep. Well, I think we saw this coming, but now it's official. Max has officially canceled Tokyo Vice after 2 seasons.
Bastards.
So we will not get any more of Jake Edelstein.
Again, a great show that they won't continue with.
Nope. No, but they got $650 million to pump into the French Open.
Idiots.
Now, we talked about these a little bit last night as we were traveling back from our concert. The great movie, I love Man on Fire, starring Denzel Washington. Well, they are now taking, because it's based on not only, there's 5 books in the series. Man on Fire was just one of the books.
Yeah.
Featuring John Creasy. So Netflix is actually going to do an entire series based on the 5 books, which will, of course, include a reinterpretation or a reboot, or whatever you want to call it, of Man on Fire as part of the series. It won't be just about Man on Fire and redoing the movie. But that could be interesting.
They have done a very good job bringing the books and the characters and the stories to the series.
Well, I'm going to tie this in with another one because, and then I'll explain my issues. You're right. I agree with that. Like Reacher, how are you going to, on Amazon?
Bosch,
yep. Not complaining about those at all. That's awesome. But now the news also came down today that USA Network is going to do a series based on John Grisham's The Rainmaker, which they've already made a movie of.
Yeah.
See, this is where I run into problems. Is how many books are there out there by John Grisham that they could try to make a movie or a series about?
Yeah.
Stuff that we've never heard.
They're trying to capitalize on a name that's already out there. It's lazy.
Well, that's why I'm kind of
Eh,
I'm okay with the Man on Fire thing, as long as I can push through their reinterpretation of that and then see the new stuff
yeah.
based on the other books. But yeah, doing the Rainmaker over again, that is lazy. 100% agree with you. Absolutely lazy. Now, what's not lazy, first time we'll see this, based on James Rollins' novels about Sigma Force. Officially now, series in development at Amazon MGM.
This I'm looking forward to. These are some very intriguing tales. Science, military meet. I've gotten into these. I've been reading
Well,
them
and what
from.
have, what have, what have you and I been saying for years and years and years and decades?
There's so many damn good book series out there that can be developed if done right.
We still have never seen anybody attempt Alex Delaware. We've never seen anybody attempt Elvis Cole and Joe Pike.
We've seen botched attempts at Dirk Pitt from Clive Cussler. We've seen botched attempts at Lucas Davenport
We've
from John
seen we've
Sanford.
seen two good movies, but there's so much more that they could pull from James Lee Burke
Right.
and put Robichaux in a series. And it could be the authors exerting massive big time control. But maybe we're starting to see this crack a little bit, and we're starting to see some of these book series that have never been adapted before finally
And
start.
hopefully they will be done right.
Well, I think Reacher might have been the one to do it too. I think that Reacher series with Alan Rickson,
Bosch cracked the door open,
yes,
and Reacher kicked it all the way through.
love that analogy. Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. Now, didn't you used to like Doctor Who?
Yes, used to watch that back in the day
Well, why'd you stop?
because they went PC.
Oh, they did?
Yes, when they made the Doctor a woman and she was not a likable character.
Okay. I was going to say, looks like it's getting really good again because Doctor Who just announced they're going to have their first same sex kiss.
Old hat ish from the BBC because you had the character Captain Jack, played by John Barrow. It went on to oh no, I can't think of the series. Well done, but he was by, and you just dealt with it because that was the character you knew going in. Now, if they're forcing it through here, again, I'm glad I bailed on the series.
And as we've always said, that's the problem. You said the magic words. They're forcing the stuff on us instead of letting it just flow organically. And the characters are who they are. And it's amazing how we will, as heterosexual men, watch this stuff if you just let it happen. If you have a gay character, that's fine. But
But
don't
don't
just
take
make a
it
character gay
to
just to
make the
check a
character
box.
gay.
Just to check a box. If it fits in the storyline and it seems like it's an integral part of the storyline, that's beautiful. All
Fine.
for it. All for it.
But don't take an established character and change it.
Animal Kingdom, one of our favorite TV shows.
Yeah.
You had a gay character.
One of the brothers.
Yep.
That's fine.
He was getting,
Busy.
yeah, he was getting reamed left and right. And it was like, that's who he is. And he was a badass. It's just who he was.
Yeah, it wasn't an established character changed.
Yeah. So, you idiots in Hollywood, it can be done so that everybody is on board. But the minute you start doing the checkbox way is when we tune out. And finally, before I give you my review of Fallout, one last little tidbit. This was a borderline dumbass move. Didn't quite make it for me, but I think it's more sad. Now, don't want to speak for you. I know you stay up late, a lot later than I do for the most part, although that's starting to change now. As
Yeah,
I'm the
I
guy that's
usually,
listening to sports radio at 2 in the morning.
God, I'm asleep by 2 most times.
But when I was younger, I used to enjoy Late Night with David Letterman back in the 80s. One of the cool things about Late Night was Paul Schaefer
Yeah.
and the band. And they have had a house band on Late Night, as it has gone through now to Seth Meyers. Well, NBC deciding it's too expensive. They are cutting the house band after 44 years. After 44 years since the beginning of Late Night, there will be no house band on Late Night with Seth Meyers going forward.
Once again, NBC doesn't know what they're doing.
Well, none of them do. None of them do. Except for maybe CBS, because they're the only network that people seem to watch anymore. Oh, and by the way, just an aside, just so I can...
Well, mostly because CBS is trying to put out original content, new shows that aren't fully all reality based or singing or dancing. Yes, they still have that dumbass Survivor and run the occasional Amazing Race, but at least they're trying to put out more shows and different shows.
And by the way, last little thing, and I'll move on to my review real quick. Did you see the story where the Pope is going to meet with Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel?
Why?
Now, thank God, I think they said Chris Rock is going to be there as well. So at least there'll be a voice of sanity in the room.
Oh my God.
But why do you pick the two biggest asshats in media?
My God.
What the hell is the Pope meeting with them about?
There's no reason.
God help me if the Pope gets brainwashed by those two fucktards.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's fucktard 1 and fucktard 2.
All right, so real quick in TV and streaming, Dave's taken the week off on this one. He's been trying to catch up on old shows like The Big Bang Theory, so
Yeah, that's kind of run the roost right now.
So I have my review finally of Fallout, which he finished off pretty quick when it first came out. I will just couple quick points. Don't want to be redundant since we've already covered it once. But just my perspective is I enjoyed it. Looking forward to season 2. Don't think I loved it as much as you did. I say though it's very entertaining, very well done. Walton Goggins is the man, is the ghoul, of course, but going back to Justified, just he's one of those actors that you just, it's kind of like Ryan Gosling right now too. Whatever he's in
is going to be good.
Yeah, and you want to watch it. I still have issues in terms of the overall plot with the Brotherhood. I'm still trying to figure out their place in this whole thing, as they're like the third faction.
You got to go back to the video games.
See, I knew I was prepared for this. This is the one thing I knew you were going to say that I was going to get pissed about. If you have to go to the video game, the show is a piece of shit.
It was made for the video game fan.
Not.
That's who it was made for.
See, that's bullshit. You should not have to have the background of playing the video game to enjoy the show or have certain things in it. I get there's going to be an occasional Easter egg, but in terms of, I should not have to play the video game in order to understand the plot. That's bullshit. That's bad writing and bad form.
Well, bully for you.
Oh, it's bullshit, Dave. It's absolute bullshit. If you watch a movie that's based on a book, you shouldn't have to read the book to enjoy the movie, should you?
Sometimes maybe you should.
Oh, bullshit. Bullshit. Now you're just being a jackass.
Yes, I am.
You enjoy this form, whether it's a movie. You enjoy that form, whether it's a video game or a book. You
You're
should
right.
be able to enjoy them
have,
equally and separately.
They have not done a good job talking about the factions and what they stand for. I will give you that.
That's my one criticism. Otherwise, I liked it a lot.
I will concede that point to you.
So I will give it a very strong 3 frenzies. And I am looking forward to season 2. Now, I did end up watching episode 3 of Eric on Netflix, so now I'm halfway through. It's only 6 episodes. It's just barely good enough for me to
want to finish it up.
The central core mystery is intriguing, although the end of the 3rd episode kind of pulled a lot of the tension and drama out of things. So I will watch episode 4 to see where they go with it. But up until that little spoiler at the end of episode 3, it was much better because it kept you guessing as to the suspects, and it kept dropping little things about, oh, this person's actually kind of a scumbag. Oh, this person's actually kind of a scumbag. And so the suspect pool grows and grows and grows. And then Benedict Cumberbatch, of course, is the central figure.
Yeah.
And he's got his issues, so you wonder,
well,
okay, is he the perpetrator? And then, like I said, they kind of sucked a lot of the drama and a lot of that kind of cool Law and Order type thing out of it at the end of the 3rd episode. So now it's going to take a little bit more effort on their part to keep me going through the final 3. That's all I'll say.
All right.
So it could go either way. Could end up being a big disappointment, or if they have something in mind that I am not aware of, turn it around.
They might save it.
Yep. A good thing, we do not have any moments of silence this week. So, you know, I look at that big empty space on our show sheet for moments of silence in pop culture, and I just go, why couldn't I see Joy Behar and Whoopi Goldberg there? It's a lot of room there to fill. Come on. Come on. You can do it, God. You can do it. Save us all. And I was so disappointed. Ryan Reynolds popped up on
and
The View
with his mom.
Yeah. This is why, a lot of people sit there and they want to be stars, whether it's rock stars, movie stars. And I go, why would I want to do that?
Why would I want to do that and have to be on shit shows like this?
Yeah, you have to show, you're promoting a movie, you have to go on Colbert. Like, I'd punch him in the face.
Hell no.
I'd punch him in the face in 2 seconds. Although I guess with how successful the new Bad Boys is doing, I guess you can get away with smacking people around. Only hurt Will Smith for about a year or so.
Yeah.
All right. Dave, what time is it?
We're not pivoting.
That's true.
There was nothing to pivot from.
Again, I was just hoping. Whoopee.
Joy.
Yes, we are moving on to the final segment that we always do each and every week, whether it's our sports episode or here in our pop culture
because we have to discuss who is going to be the Red Foreman Dumbass of the Week here on Spotify, Pocket Cast, Apple, Overcast, Castbox, Amazon, Audible, and iHeart Sports Frenzy, baby.
Otherwise, of course, known as iHeartRadio. Do not forget to check out the Facebook page. If you have missed an episode, probably the easiest way to find an old episode is to go on the Facebook page. Maybe, possibly. It's an option.
Yep.
It's a resource for you kids out there.
Also, that's where you'll find all of our picks for the sports segment that we do on Thursdays.
Yep. So if you want to hear more of us, definitely check out the Sports Edition, which drops every Thursday morning in the exact same places that your Uncle Dave just mentioned. All right, five. I feel strongly about these five, more strongly than I did in our earlier Sports Edition this week, where I had a week 3.
Yeah.
These are 5 very strong
five.
candidates. So let's start off. We mentioned this would be coming. Stupidity in the media. No shocker. And this is another one, just like Colbert and Kimmel. How the fuck does Rachel Maddow get on TV? The angry lesbian. The paranoid angry lesbian. And this is a quote we've heard before, but coming from her as a quote-unquote journalist,
it's kind of sad.
Somebody asked her recently about what she's afraid of if Donald Trump becomes president again. She is scared to death that Donald Trump will put her in jail or in a camp of some sort.
Yeah.
This kind of stuff drives me insane.
That's fear-mongering shit that we don't need.
That's perfect. Fear-mongering. Perfect way to put it, Dave. Irresponsible fear-mongering. Now, this one was interesting because I almost made him my badass of the week. But then I was like, let's have some perspective here. So we just had the world premiere, the red carpet world premiere for Pixar's new movie, Inside Out 2, which I believe should be in theaters as you guys are hearing this.
Yeah.
One of the people that does a voice on the Inside Out movies is, believe it or not, the Red Hot Chili Peppers bassist Flea. So I guess he was trying to be typical rebellious rock and roller, but again, you probably need to read the room a little bit and act a little bit more mature at certain points in time, because he was doing the whole thing on the red carpet, where they stop and all the paparazzi take pictures and everything.
You do realize this is for a kids movie, right?
Yeah.
Flea.
So of course Flea decided, as he got up there for his moment in the sun, that he did a double middle finger to the cameras.
Oh, Flea.
So you see what I'm saying? It's kind of like, initially my thought was,
like it,
yeah,
but it's the premiere for a kids movie,
right? That's where I went to. Was initially I was like, wow, he's kind of giving the double bird to Disney, and it's like, no, come on, we got to have some semblance of maturity and respect.
Yeah,
got to. Sorry, Flea. All right, this guy, I used to really kind of like him as an actor, but he's like De Niro. He has gone so far overboard, and he is such a hateful, spiteful racist. John Leguizamo.
Oh my God, what the hell happened to him?
John Leguizamo recently took out an ad in the New York Times, as I guess voting for the Emmys is coming up.
Yeah.
Took out an ad in the New York Times asking Emmy voters to please choose non-white nominees for awards. And we're not talking about, just kindly show diversity. Now he's
No,
basically
just
saying
flat out they
every
cannot
yeah,
be nominated.
right. We don't want any white people nominated for Emmys. Yeah, he's gone. He has gone batshit crazy overboard with how much he hates white people. And I don't know how these people put him in movies anymore. I wouldn't want that shit on my set.
No, it's creating a toxic environment.
All right, this one's going to hit home for you. Not really. You'll actually probably like this, but in terms of the world of books, this might actually force more people to the libraries. Costco says that because it's too labor intensive, they will no longer stock books for sale from January through August.
That makes zero sense.
Here's what they say. They say that we can bring out bottled water or cases on pallets. We can't do that with books.
Oh, we actually have to display them and we actually have to work. Oh my God. We actually have to do work?
Yeah, so only during the holiday season.
God.
Will you be able, now they'll make exceptions, I guess, like with the new Patterson Crichton book. I'll bet they're more than happy because they can just wheel out a pallet and dump it.
Yeah.
Because it's one book.
Oh my God. That is lazy business.
I agree. And they're basically telling you the reason why is, yeah, they're saying it's lazy. We don't want to pay people to actually do the work. This one bothers me. I mean, like you said, it's blatant lazy management.
Yeah.
It's terrible. Absolutely terrible. Maybe we should get that the head of Costco and put him in a camp with Rachel Maddow. Oh, did I say that out loud? Oh. Fear mongering. People are so stupid if you believe this shit. Nobody's going in camps. Nobody's going to jail. My God, stop saying that bullshit. You like the Transformers, Dave? Well, I got some news for you about Transformers.
Are we getting the crossover?
No, they're actually really, in real life, they're among us. Because in Texas, Optimus Prime was arrested for auto theft. Ironically, arrested for auto theft.
Oh my God.
Oh, no, wait, I'm sorry. A guy whose name was Optimus Prime Blakely was arrested in Texas. This kind of goes back to last week where I told you that one of the students in the commencement for my daughter had a middle name of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
So who's the dumbass here? Is it the guy stealing cars? Obviously is a dumbass. But how about
his parents for naming him Optimus Prime? Seriously, come on, people.
So there you go. Five
if
dumbasses
you're
to
name your kid after a movie character, make it a cool character with a legitimate name.
Yeah.
I named my kid after Connor McLeod from The Highlander.
Yeah, and my daughter is named after Nash Bridges' daughter.
There you go.
But you know a guy that we love who does this kind of crap? Jason Lee.
Yeah,
one of his kids' name's Inspector Pilot.
Yeah, he's a little out there.
Now you can see this kind of crap from Gwyneth Paltrow. You know, her and her goopy brain. Because she named one of her kids, what, Apple?
Yeah.
It's probably that Coldplay music rotted her frontal lobe.
Either that or is her vagina scented candles.
I still got to get some of those.
God.
All right.
Ah.
Your 5 Red Foreman Dumbass of the Week nominees are Costco for not wanting to sell books because it's too much work. Optimus Prime being arrested for auto theft. John Leguizamo taking out a newspaper ad telling Emmy voters not to choose white nominees. Flea from the Chili Peppers, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, doing the double middle finger on the red carpet at a kids' movie premiere. Or Rachel Maddow's absolute paranoia about Donald Trump getting elected and putting her in a camp.
God.
So I told you this was going to be tough.
This is a tough one. Oof.
I think I'm going to go with Leguizamo just because.
I'm going with Rachel Maddow.
Yeah. And that's sad because the other ones kind of have, except, well, maybe not Costco, but a little bit of humor attached to them.
Yeah.
This stuff with those.
This is just vile and stupid.
Yeah, with Maddow and Leguizamo, it's just.
See, that's why I was hemming and hawing. Do I want to call people out for just being assholes or stupidity and being a dumbass? In which case, straight up stupidity and dumbassery, I would call out Flea.
Yeah.
For not knowing where he was. That should be the true dumbass moment.
Well, I think he knew where he was. I think he was just, I'm rock and roll, man. I'm going to do rock and roll. I can't believe he actually got that job as a voice.
I know.
In a Pixar movie. That seems kind of bizarre to me.
Maybe who knows? Who knows?
Yeah. All right, kids. So there you go. Rachel Maddow and John Leguizamo are your penultimate, final, complete, and total voted on by Dave and I dumbasses of the week.
Boom.
And that's going to do it for the weekend edition. So do not forget, Thursday mornings, check out the sports edition. Also, very politically incorrect. And if you're not into sports, I get it.
We'll be back in 7 days.
That's right. We've told you what's coming up. Looking forward to it. Enjoy your weekend. If you're going to go out there again tonight and do it all over again.
Remember, you're on your own tomorrow.
Well, you could listen to repeats.
You could.
Just to listen to our mellifluous voices.
Being berated again.
He's your Uncle Dave, Dave Height.
He's your Uncle Kev, the maestro, Kevin Crane.
So, until we meet again, say goodnight to the kids, Dave.
Good night to the kids, Dave.